So I ran a half marathon. If I can do it, you can do it. Drink water and like and subscribe. Hello. Crusher Jones here, wishing you a safe and happy holiday season and a wondrous new year. Shout out to all my friends who are getting superpowers or who just got superpowers. I hope you enjoy those as well as the love, honor, and respect you are due as people, and I appreciate you. Today I'd like to talk about a major life goal I just knocked out. I ran my first half marathon. I want to talk about why I did it, discuss how I did it, and offer some advice for people considering doing it. Because, you come to the retro media guy when you want running advice. Which is also why there's going to be no footage of me actually running here, because I look like Homer Simpson during the last 2 miles of his marathon, and I don't want to traumatize you. So why did I run a half marathon? Because I wanted to do something I could be proud of. Something nobody could say, this doesn't count about. Something I pushed myself to do of my own volition. I wanted to set a goal and go after it and achieve it by way of my own energy and my own commitment. That was important to me. To be honest, I've never been in good shape. Ever. I had some major health issues growing up. I had a disease attack my left wrist which put me in traction and limited my range of motion. And I was given some medicine that did horrible things to me weight-wise, mood-wise, and energy-wise that caused me to basically sleep for like 6 months and balloon up to 225 pounds in high school. And even afterward, I just never really got my shit together health-wise, even though I managed to drop 40 pounds my senior year and another 20 to 40 give or take during university and afterward. As far as being active, I thought most sports were interesting to watch, but not for me. I should also mention, I'm a raging klutz. Like, hospitalized level klutz. Don't trust home pull-up bars, by the way. With that in mind, I needed to find something that would help me focus, develop a natural procedural outlook, and maybe, just maybe, lend some degree of gracefulness to my daily existence. My dad was a runner, and it seemed like something that appealed to me. In the back of my head, I used to always want to run, but I thought, fat people don't run. So I lost weight by walking. And I gotta tell you, I love walking. I love long walks. But then when I was 28, I was like, I could run. Why not? And I started to do a mile or 2 or 3 here and there. So I've flirted with running on and off for 12 years now, but I found myself getting really serious about it when I went to graduate school. I knew for a fact that grad school was going to ask a lot from me, and that it would involve long hours of work, study, writing, and straight up toil. I also have enough fucking nervous energy to power a small city because I am an ADHD powerhouse, and since exercise is good for both ADHD and depression, I thought, hell yeah, let me turn this thing on its head and get my health game together while I'm at school. Once I got to 10 miles, running a half marathon felt like a real possibility, and I remember changing my diet and approach to health mostly so I could feel better when I ran. So that's the why. What about the how? Alright, standard issue notice. I'm not a medical doctor, so this advice is general and not specific to your needs or situation. But I can tell you about my how. First off, drink tons of water. Tons. More about that in a second, but if you take one thing from this video, it should be this. At least 100 ounces a day, minimum. As for what to buy, you don't need a lot, but you are going to have to make some investments. I began small. I knew what my foot situation was like, so I got good shoes with insoles that would take care of my high-ass arches. Look up Runner Foot Test for advice on how to do that. I also downloaded Runkeeper on my iPhone to track runs, although occasionally you would do some weird stuff, but I used the free version. Again, I drank tons of water out of the water containers I collected and carried with me. Can't stress this enough. Keep a bottle around you at all times and you'll notice you'll drink more water just out of habit. I also really like the Vapor bag water bottles for this reason. Really good for travel too. Clothes-wise, I bought comfortable stuff, including sweat-wicking shorts and undies, and a hat so I didn't have to compete with the sun. I also often use my glasses with a flip-down mirror shade, so I look like a combination of Cyberpunk 2020 and Dwayne Wade. This was particularly useful for keeping people from talking to me because I looked like a massive dork and dear God I hate running and talking. I did most of my training for the half marathon in late fall, and as it got colder I introduced other sweat-wicking options including a long-sleeve thermal shirt and a fleece trainer I got from Goodwill, which I'd wear under a hoodie. I also bought a cheap wool hat too. Wear wool when it's cold. Cotton will kill you. It gets wet and stays wet and it sucks. Also, keep a change of clothes, a towel, more water, Tylenol or aspirin, and a banana or some nutrition bars in your car, or at a designated safe place when you run. I purchased Bluetooth headphones via Anchor, but I recommend you only use these if you're in an area where you're not going to be surprised by cars or traffic. That's happened and it's scary. I run predominantly on pedestrian trails and in a very, very open, well-lit, and sparsely populated set of park and ride parking lots. And while you're at it, get a headlamp too. Be very careful running at night. Wear reflective clothing. Never run without a light. Be safe. So what about running? As for actual running, I started small during this cycle, deciding to run no more than 4 times a week as I built up my stamina and my legs. If you want to know how I ran 13.1 miles, it's stamina, conditioning, diet, strength, water, and rest and repetition. That's it. Everything else was just refining a process. Even though I don't run for time or speed, I cannot tell you how important it is to pay attention to conditioning. If you're in okay shape, you can probably run 5 miles right now if you really try to do so, and if you go slow, and if you stretch and eat enough food and drink enough water, and if you breathe properly. But you will hate yourself for days afterward, because your legs are going to be screaming in pain, your body's going to be shaky, and getting up and around will pull on muscles you didn't know you even had. Conditioning is not just physical, it's mental too. And the goal is to get to the point where you're ready to run, where you look forward to it, and where you feel kind of bummed if you don't do it. And that's what you want to remember. So start slow and build up to that. You're conditioning all of yourself. Better to be slow and sure and consistent than erratic and weird and pained. After 2 weeks, I started to increase my distance a bit on certain runs. This is where I experimented a lot, and there are lots of good guides and plans out there, but I found my way via trial and error, and water. Again, lots of water. I also kept snacks around me in case I needed one when I was running, like I did for the half marathon. In terms of miles, I tried to stick with a base number and work around that. For instance, I'd say to myself, I want to run 3 miles as my minimum, and I'd do 2 3-milers and 2 4-milers one week, and then 2 3-milers, a 4-miler, and a 5-miler the next week to see how I felt. Again, advance slowly. You want your runs to be comfortable. You do not want, under any circumstances, to hurt after a run. This is why rest, recuperation, diet, and water and conditioning are important. You're only running part of the time, but you're working on running all the time, so you run better. From there, I just kept increasing my minimum. I never try to do 4 runs back to back, and I recommend a day off every 2 to 3 runs. On those off days, you can still do things like a high-impact interval training workout, some strength training, or some yoga or whatever else, but avoid doing any taxing leg-based cardio. I'd also take 2 days off after a long run too. Remember, rest is a big part of conditioning. Diet-wise, I will say this. I backed off the heavy sweets and heavy carbs and fell in love with oatmeal, nuts, low sugar everything, fruits, and vegetables all the time. If you told teenage me I would saute spinach and treat it like candy, you would probably get laughed at by a heavy kid. But as I ran more and more, my body began begging me for nutrients. Funny thing is, after my first ever 10-miler, I celebrated with pizza and beer, and it was all I thought of to get me through the run. But after 3 slices, I was like, great, where's the nutrition here? Again, running makes you crazy. But really, that'll get you pretty far down the road. Wrapping it all up, here's my final tip. Do this for you. This is yours. It's your journey and nobody else can do it but you. Don't do yourself the disservice of gauging yourself against others. I wish I looked like the human statues I see running around my town, but I don't. I still look like a goofy, hyperactive 24-year-old, although one with some delightfully distinguished gray hair. But the thing is, this is you, and your feet, and your breathing, and your conditioning, and your life. I do find it odd that I hated running in my youth. Who's the fastest? I didn't care then, and I don't think I ever will care. But I love running itself now, because I'm running towards something. It's awesome. It feels great. And in all honesty, runner's high is the business, and I am here for it. But the biggest point I can offer is that you do this for yourself. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. Anyway, let me know how you're doing in the comments and if you have any questions. The theme song today is Jeremy Blake's A Rising Wave. Check him out. Like, subscribe, ring my bell LL, and send me Bitcoin and food. Be safe. Happy 2021.